Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys, and good morning, good evening, good night, good day, whatever day and time it is over there. I hope it's a good one.
Yeah, I think they kind of moved the world around while we were sleeping, and now we're in the Arctic.
Yeah, that's one of her things that she says when it heads into
It's
winter.
true.
Again,
It's true.
time and seasons. The ancients were always paying attention to time and seasons. And I was listening to the Polish psychic Christoph talking. It inspired this because, I think, again, there's so much that I might take for granted in my studies or think that we've talked about this or that in the past. It's been over 8 years now, 8 years and almost 4 months doing these videos and sharing. And yet, I'm not sure if we ever really talked about this. Christoph he was asked about incarnations and time and lives in between time and life. And then, it came up the fact that, again, time is a construct for embodiment. And Christoph was saying that we take roles, and when we die, it's like you're not in that role anymore. You're in the realization part that you were taking a role. And there's like this in-between period. And he also said sometimes he suspects that people perhaps literally rush back quicker than they really have to, or even don't realize their full options, which I thought was interesting. And we'd have to meditate on that a little bit deeper. But the thing that we wanted to talk about was time, because again, time is for when we are embodied in this density, and it's relative. The time-space continuum, as you see, it appears that things move forward in time. Appears that they move forward in time. But the reality is, when we're out of body, there is not the same sense of time as when we are in body. So if you are talking about taking another incarnation, and let's just say, you had certain things that you achieved, and it was interesting too, because he also said each soul seems to have its main theme, its main essence, its main energy. Like, maybe you are, I would say what he didn't say, but like a main archetype. And we need to talk more about archetypes, and that's another thing I've been meaning to talk about is archetypes, because if you think of things in the light of archetypal forces, and each one of us being a mixture of different archetypal forces and different makeups of those archetypal forces, then each life can become relatively nuanced, and we can have specific purposes. But maybe we're always kind of a healer, or maybe we're always kind of somebody that is always fighting against the wrongs to rectify them. Maybe we're always more of a builder. Maybe we're always more of a teacher. I do think, again, the individual lives can vary greatly. And there was something else that the guide said yesterday that kind of blew my mind a little bit, and we'll maybe develop another video on that too. But, again, I think the main thing that we have to concern ourselves with is going through life always, without fear, and fully focused on where we are at the moment. It's all about the now, because the power is in the now. The power is in the now. When we jump out of this, then everything changes. And, one of the things that Christoph was, I think, alluding to was, let's say, the life, you were born in 1963, and, this life ends in 2035, and there were certain things, that were achieved, certain things weren't achieved. doesn't necessarily mean that your next life is going to be 2035 or 2036 or 2043, or maybe you're going to wait to 2100 till some circumstances have changed and the earth is at a different place. Or, again, you can always also, I guess it depends soul to soul, jump off to another realm, another planet. But how about going back in time? How about taking an incarnation that maybe would end somewhere in the 1960s after this incarnation? Because again, it's all relative for when you are embodied.
I think maybe he was talking about sometimes if people rush back before they realize that they need to. I think there's a healing that goes on after you leave this body. And if that healing is not complete, then you don't realize all your options because your sight is limited. Very much so when we're in this body. We are structured, our mind is literally structured for us to see things, like in a forward momentum. But if we get out of this body and we don't fully heal, I think maybe sometimes there can still be some pain that might pull us back quicker. We think we can go back and help a child or help someone, and maybe we can, because one thing I'm learning is that the more I'm learning and about possibilities, one of the rules is there's really no rules with the exception of there's existence. What you can do with that existence, I've kind of, paralleled it with cartoons. You can do just about anything. So, speaking of a clock, I pulled up, there is no universal ticking. Past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in what's called the block universe. So your brain stitches together moments like little time frames of a movie, giving you the sensation of moving forward in time. But in reality, you're not moving through time. Time is wrapped all around you, giving you so many options.
This graph really got me thinking because had done a video at one time talking about the relativity of octaves. If you're familiar with like a guitar, you have 6 strings. And so, the lowest string in standard tuning is an E, and the highest string in standard tuning on the opposite side of the fretboard is an E, right? And then there's all these other E's at different places along the length of the strings, in which you could hit different octaves of E's. Well, thinking about the Yugas, it makes me think of when we're thinking about a golden age, when we're talking about a golden age, a Satya Yuga, you're at a higher octave. It's like everything is at a higher octave, but it's reflective of the octaves below it. And, so when we're at a Kali Yuga, we're at one of the lower octaves. And so we have this time-space thing where you're actually... Again, it's all, as Cindy was saying, happening at the same time. Yet again, there's this breaking it down into different zones through octaves. And octaves make a lot of sense because, again, the fractal nature of the universe, where everything, the macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm, and the microcosm reflects the macrocosm. Think about it like if you put a mirror in front of you and a mirror behind you. Oh, it could get very, very curious and interesting.
Mm-hmm. It can, it can get very, very confusing. Then there's the idea that gravity can literally slow down time, and this is called gravitational time dilation. The stronger the gravity, the slower time moves. So if you spend one day on a planet with intense gravity and your friend stays on Earth, you will come back slightly younger, only by fractions of seconds, but still, it happens.
Well, this touches on something else that was just popping up in the last 24 hours. When you're talking about that, there's been so many people that have made the comment that they are absolutely sure that time is speeding up. So think about this again. If the gravity, the denseness, the heaviness, that magnetic force of the Kali Yuga is such that there's more magnetism going on in a way that's slowing things down. And now we're into a higher octave, a lightening of the age, and things are speeding up because, again, we're not held down by the gravity of the situation of a Kali Yuga.
Kali Yugas are very, very, very difficult, especially those dark ones, but they set us up for a whole new reality, a whole new world. And then they do talk about that the your future self. It isn't something that hasn't happened yet. It's a region of space-time you simply haven't reached. So some spiritual traditions sense this naturally. Intuition is you feeling the gravitational pull of the future version of you. So I guess if you work on your body, mind, body, breath, Qigong, meditation, mantras, yoga, this is, we'll call it the science behind that. You are conditioning your intuition through those things, through the backing, and you're able to sense the future version of you.
Yeah, this gets me thinking. There was a movie back in the 60s, I think it was, The Unbearable Lightness of Being. And when we enlighten ourselves, again, lighten our load, so to speak, it does allow us to observe from a different viewpoint and accelerate that ascension process, and that's where we are. Again, the power is in the now, but also recognizing where you are in this incarnation, is only part of the journey, because again, the soul takes numerous incarnations, so many incarnations typically. Again, each soul is unique, but again, the choices that we have and how we react to different situations, that's where the variables are. It's always about how do we react to something. There, that Charles Dickens quote, I think, Tale of Two Cities, is it? Where it talks about it being the best of times and the worst of times, and I think we're heading sort of into a time like that, where again, every time is what you make of it. Some of the most challenging times can actually bring people together, and then we can work and do our magic to lighten the load of humanity and accelerate the ascension path and the path to a lighter existence for all.
Mm-hmm. And let's throw this in there. So we talked about gravity and time, but now let's talk a little bit about, and we threw in the Kali Yuga in there, but let's talk a little bit about how time slows down the faster you move. So if you were to travel at light speed, time would stop for you completely. To you, a 1,000,000-year journey would feel instantaneous. This is why theoretical physics says a civilization that masters near light travel could cross the galaxy while barely aging.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's all relative. This is also explaining why it's said that in a Bronze Age, people can live to be 1,000, in a silver 10,000, and in a gold 100,000 in each incarnation. It is because it's relative, and it's relative to the gravity and the lightness or the density of the situation that we find ourselves in. Again, that one sage, Kakabasundi, is said to have seen the Ramayana multiple times. According to the legend, he witnessed the epic 11 times, each with different outcomes, and he witnessed the events of the Mahabharata something like 16 times. Very interesting. How could that be possible? But I also want to put out there, how could the knowing be possible from the Hindu perspective, unless it was taught to us, again, either by beings with advanced knowledge or through meditation, making contact with non-physical beings that are outside of the gravity of our situation, sharing with us information on how the universe works.
So just a couple more things that I wanted to share. So time and space are not the same substance. They blend together. So space is not empty. Time is not separate. They are woven into a single fabric that stretches, ripples, curves, and vibrates with energy. Where space-time bends, matter appears. Where matter gathers, space-time bends more. So it's a cosmic feedback loop. And your body senses time differently than your mind. Isn't that interesting? So your cells have internal clocks that don't care about minutes or hours. They care about light, magnetism, gravity, and frequency. And here's the kicker. So that's why trauma, when you're in a state of trauma, that stretches time. Joy compresses time. Meditation dissolves time. And altered states warp the sense of time. So there's a whole lot to go. We could go on and on, but this was kind of like a bite-sized, fun review of time, space, continuum, and all the different things. I mean, to me, they're like toys of the universe.
And the guides consistently, too, have always said that if we want to increase our ability to manifest change in our life, you have to make yourself more magnetic. Yeah, and that is carefully, yeah. And that is, again, that's what Qigong is. Again, drawing in the energy to yourself. And in Qigong, again, when you pass on and leave the physical shell behind, we are still taking the life force with us. If we can manage to bring it up, again, there's three main reservoirs. As far as the dantians, that which you can bring into the uppermost reservoir, you could take with you into new incarnations, which will give you more options and more possibilities.
Indeed.
As always, guys, much love. Look forward to your comments. Like, share, subscribe, and hype the video if possible as well. Much love. Namaste.
Namaste.